Live from Crypto.news global headquarters. This is Around the Block with Jefferson Nunn, and I'm here with Lisa Deluca. She's from Unstoppable Domains. I love that name. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, yes, we were just talking a little bit, and I wanted to find out a little bit more. How did you find out about Bitcoin and Ethereum? And tell me more about your origin story, as it were.
Sure. I grew up at IBM and kind of chased emerging technologies, bounced around all the hot topics, and blockchain was a huge deal for us at IBM. So I learned a lot about how blockchain works and the technology behind it, but never actually got to play with it in the day-to-day job. And I've always been kind of tracking what's going on with crypto and NFTs and all the cool stuff in the space, but I've never found a way to make it my day job until now. So I'm really excited to be in and learning as I go.
Awesome, awesome. So when you were over at IBM learning about blockchain, was it just this exotic type of technology or what do you think of it then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, use cases were evolving, everything from supply chain and how you can track shipments to more of those industrial use cases of how blockchain could be really important. I'm an inventor, so I was always thinking about how we could use blockchain. And, one of the biggest drawbacks you hear is how expensive it is to write to the blockchain. So we've got a couple patents around how to know when to write. Like, is it a very important event where it needs to write to the blockchain, or can we use a relational traditional database for storage? So that hybrid approach to on-chain, off-chain data has always been of interest to me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that hybrid approach right now as we're still developing the technology. And so I think Unstoppable Domains has been doing some incredible work with that. Can you tell me a little bit more about? I mean, it just sounds such a cool name, Unstoppable Domains. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's a play on blockchain, right? And immutable, and the idea that you can't stop the domains, and the really NFTs, the domains itself, so they can start out as being your digital identity and really grow as that profile and information about yourself, either on chain or off chain, starts to grow as well. So I am the director of engineering over on our login product and working very closely with the founders and building out our teams and to really establish what decentralized identity means and how we can be helping everybody start to adopt Web3.
So tell me, what if I went onto your website and tried to buy something? What would I be buying? Is it a just a domain name, or is it more than that?
You know, I think that it was genius of the founders to associate unstoppable domains with domains, because in the Web 2 sense of domains and .com era, there's this fear of missing out where people feel like they need to go secure their name, their business name. .com. And so I think there's a little bit of that going on right now in the Web3 world where people are like, I got to get my name, .crypto, .wallet, .x, whatever that TLD is. And so they're purchasing it, not realizing that there's so much more to it than just a domain. In fact, a lot of the browsers out of the box don't support it as a traditional domain name. So you have to add an extension. People have to know to use something like Opera or Brave in order to access that domain name through the native browser experience. But it also holds on to it. If you go under to manage your domain after you purchase it, that's when you start to unlock that decentralized identity. So you can start taking advantage of what the profile could mean and how you can take yourself with you to all these decentralized applications.
Yeah, I think it's a very powerful, even freedom of speech type of thing. I've noted that there have been some takedowns of domain names. One of the more famous one, I think, with Nissan. Right, he was fighting a court battle for years over his domain name, and it just so happens he has that name. You know. So,
For sure.
do you think this Web3 identity is going to be, the future of where we're going with everything?
I do think that. And the cool thing about the NFT domains is once you purchase them, you own them forever. So no one can take it away from you. It's yours to do whatever you want with. So I think we're going to start seeing more adoption in that regard. And as the value starts being introduced on what you can do with a domain, more people will start to understand it, and it'll be more of a mass adoption as opposed to kind of those people that are playing in early adopters in crypto and the Web3 space. Now we'll start to see it being more that wide adoption.
Quite right. I think, and so what's this Web3 now that we're delving into it? I mean, is it a technology? Is it a standard? What is it?
I heard someone describing Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3 the other day, and so I'll steal that. But they described Web 2, Web 1 as this idea that everything that we interact with, like publications and newspapers, you can now access on the internet. So it's kind of a static, you're reading, you're going somewhere and you're reading and digesting content as a user. Now, Web 2 introduces this ability to interact with the website. So as a user, you can start liking things, right? Social media becomes popular, commenting on posts, adding rewards. Web3 now is supposed to be the website interacting with you. And that's the part I really like. It's this idea that you bring yourself to these different websites and you decide what kind of data about yourself you're willing to share and with whom. And then that information can then be used to help to customize and personalize your experience. So right now in the Web2 era, it's very centralized. You've got a company like Facebook that's got a lot of data on individuals, and you kind of almost sell your data in exchange for this experience in the social network. But in Web3, you could bring your followers, your connections, your people with you as you're experiencing different websites. So it's really cool, this idea of the websites interacting with you.
Cool, cool. So yeah, that's the thing. It's been interesting that with Web3, I think control reverts of that whole website experience, technology, content reverts back to the creators. Is that right? Because like with NFTs, there's that whole idea that you can now own your content, and if you sell your content, the proof of sale, if you will, is on the blockchain, right? So now creator rights revert back to us, right?
You got it. Yeah, I know. I think NFTs are fascinating and they're just going to increase in adoption. And it's going to be interesting to see how that creator economy, the people that are really innovative and coming up with these new ideas, how they're going to monetize and kind of be their own um, person, right? There's no middleman anymore. They're directly engaging with their fan base and creating a community around all the stuff that they're doing. I mean, NFTs are way more than just a JPEG. It's really a whole society is being built around it, following, and it's merging the digital and physical worlds, access to different events based on your ownership of an NFT and participation in the process. It's definitely that idea of digital scarcity and this idea that you can kind of have a badge of right, right? Like you've now part of this bigger thing than just the digital space that it currently has.
Right, right. And so I think that almost like that last step is, proof of who we are, right? And getting that associated with whatever content we're making. I was just on Telegram the other day, just engaging in a chat, and, people were like, oh, he's just a scammer. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm me. And I felt like scammers have taken my identity from me to where I can't just go anywhere and be me. But now you have this new technology, human, right? Can you tell me more about that?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So we talked about increasing the value of what it means to have a decentralized identity, and Unstoppable Domains just announced a humanity check feature. So
Mm.
right within the login area, you could, if you were a D app, you could ask for that humanity check for individuals. The biggest use case we're hearing is really around rewards. So making sure that one person gets one reward. Think of it as like a DAO. You could have one person get one vote. If you're thinking about the NFT world, you can think about mentors and making sure they're validating that they're human and an actual person, so that if someone were to steal other people's artwork or copyright and go to sell it, we would know who those people are and you could trace them back. So there's so many different use cases that we're going to start to see around humanity check. But like you said, it's a way of proving that you're human and reducing scam.
So in that case, if I'm on, for example, Telegram, conceivably, if there's a humanity check extension to Telegram, and I wanted to, rather than, the anti-bot things that never work, right? So if I'm on a channel discussing the latest in Bitcoin wallets, if somebody says, "Oh, you're a scammer," I can say, "No, I'm not. I'm me," and I can hit the humanity check button, right?
You got it. Yep. So you could share that humanity check, and you can even share additional information about your experience in blockchain, what has been on chain, and have a reputation that follows you a little bit, right? So you can prove you are you and you've been engaging in this community. You're not someone who is a bot that was just kind of spun up overnight. I think that there's a lot of power in that humanity check.
Yeah, there are a whole lot of bots out there. And I think that's part of the thing. The scammers has so pervaded the space that it's hard to figure out what's real and what's fake on the internet. I mean, there's so many anti-bot things. Click on the traffic light, click on the bows, click on a. It's like, wow. I think there are more bots out there than there are people, right?
Yep, I know. And the captchas are interesting, right? I think that any time we can reduce friction on our experiences as humans, how we're engaging in websites, like a humanity check like this will help to reduce that friction and make your experience even more enjoyable. So more innovation like this is definitely needed.
Absolutely. So, what would a more humane internet look like? Tell me what that looks like.
You know, I think one of the things that drew me to Web3 is this notion that creatives and this equal playing ground for this greenfield area for people to start innovating. I don't think there's one cookie cutter way of what the internet should look like. Instead, it should be just this free place, this playground for people to come and create and share their ideas and kind of develop a community and a followership from all of the great stuff they do.
That sounds fascinating because I was speaking with a filmmaker. He was talking about, for example, trying to raise funds for his next project using blockchain rather than the traditional methods, which has all kinds of problems, right? So, do you think there he'd be able to, one, verify his identity, two, create an NFT around his project, and potentially get it out there?
Definitely. I think we're starting to see a lot more use cases in the creative spaces like music, like art, like film. I was just listening to one around basketball where you can create
Wow.
NFTs, and like as you win a tournament, you can get an NFT to prove you won. Kind of that proof of attendance protocols that are out there. It's just a great way to build up your reputation of something that you've done and really directly relate to your followers.
Yeah, that's great. Well, along with that, what do you think is next for the whole industry? I mean, it seems like every time another year goes by, there's just more innovation coming, and we're going on a curve, right? Adoption's increasing. So what's next?
For me, it's definitely in the decentralized identity space, just because I think we're just scratching the surface of what that could mean. And we want to make sure that one company doesn't own decentralized identity, because that's the whole point, is that there is no central ownership. So how do these companies start to play nice with each other? There's a lot of standards out there that have been discussed and talked about, but in practice, there are not a lot of overlap in community involvement in that space of how do you share data easily between applications. So that's a piece that
Hmm.
I'm going to be exploring and starting to innovate around, but it'll be interesting to see where people take other spaces.
Yeah, that's one area that'd be interesting. I was just reading about some of the innovations to Ethereum that's coming right after the next big upgrade, which goes from proof of work to proof of stake. There's, for example, EIP 2535 diamonds that says you can have an unlimited size smart contract on the blockchain. What do you think beyond that might be, aside from like what you mentioned? What do you think would be next for expanding blockchain? What do you think is next?
Let me think. I mean, that's a cool use case. I didn't frankly know that there was a limit on how big smart contracts could be, right? I guess thinking of them as pieces of code that could be executed, they could be unlimited in size and functionality and just the benefit that they can bring. We're going to see more innovation in the physical and digital worlds, that bridging the gap of it. And what does it mean? How do you have access to events or purchase products that are both in the digital and physical worlds? And those products that you purchase, how do they get represented in the metaverse or gaming environment? Um, this is such a fun field. There's so
right?
much innovation coming.
And so with that, I mean, I've talked to some up and coming developers, granted they just graduated, but they are seemingly overwhelmed by the size of the field. What would you say to somebody that's just graduated, they got their bachelor's and master's? What would you say to help on ramp them if they wanted to within the cryptocurrency space?
Don't be intimidating. I think that there's a lot of overlap in Web 2 development, Web 3 development, right? Some commonalities in JavaScript and Web 2 technologies like React, how people are interacting with front end and back end. You still need that in the Web 3 space. Of course, we're introducing new stuff like smart contract development and how you're engaging with the blockchain. But well, just like with anything in any new technology, it just takes experience and playing and trying it out. YouTube's your best friend. Go and watch some videos and demystify some of the terminology associated with Web3. I didn't know anything like 2 months ago, and now I feel like I can hold my own. And it's just like, as they say, you're going down the rabbit hole. And as you start learning one thing, it becomes quickly into some new other space that you didn't even know existed. So have fun with it.
Cool, cool. Well, what do you think about? I just on the fringe, I've heard some of this GitHub automated coding. Do you think the robots are going to take the programming jobs?
uh, no, I do think programming will be easier. I did a TED talk where I showed a screen where I showed all the code that it took to write a mobile application, and then a single line of code that how it worked today. This was in 2017, so it was quite a while ago. And I think coding isn't going away, but how we engage in the like barrier to entry for individuals and developers to get going with coding is making it a lot easier for anyone to get started and start taking their idea, right? You have this idea. How do you convert it into a working prototype? And that piece is just getting easier as the days go by.
Hmm. Do you think we'll ever, within our lifetime, see like the Star Trek style experience in life?
Um, I don't think so. I think that it's just
Uh,
gonna make our day-to-day lives easier, keep reducing friction, more innovation, more fun projects, more ways to engage with each other are going to be introduced. But I don't see robots taking over our lives.
so no living, breathing, thinking computers telling us what to do. I think that's good. I think that's good. Well, it's been a really fun, engaging conversation with you. Do you have any final thoughts or tips or tricks for our listeners?
Reach out, engage with other people in the Web 3 crypto space, go on Twitter and just jump into conversations, go on Discord and follow your favorite NFT projects, go on Telegram. There's so many different places to insert yourself and just start learning by getting your hands dirty and reach out to other people because it's a very welcoming and open community once you start jumping in.
Well, I think Unstoppable Domains is really at the forefront of that. So thank you for and your company for their contributions to the space. It's been incredible to follow. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks again.